Welcome to Royal Legacy, where we will explore the rich athletic history and deep family connections of BYU sports. Join us as we honor the past, celebrate the present, and look forward to the future of the BYU Cougars. Here's your host, Lauren McLean.
How's it going, everyone? I'm Lauren McLean, and this is Royal Legacy, where we dive deep into the family connections of BYU sports. Joining me today are former BYU national champion javelin thrower Ashton Lunt and her husband, former tight end for the BYU football team, Lane Lunt. Thank you guys so much for coming on with me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Pleasure to be here for sure.
While that sweet baby sleeps. Ashton, speaking of, I did an interview with you a couple of years ago, and since then, you've added a new addition to your family. How would you describe or how would you sum up becoming a mom and how it's changed your life?
Someone asked me this before, and I said if I wanted to do something easy, I would stick to javelin. I think being a good mom is that the job's going to be hard. So it's definitely hard because I want to give everything to my baby. Life definitely, we went from, I was pregnant at nationals so we jumped right into it, like being a mom, which I personally loved. Because I feel like when you get outside of college, people they try and find their identity, and I went to a mom straight away. I knew my next role.
You're like, ready or not, here we go.
Yeah.
You were pregnant at nationals.
Yes.
How did that go?
I was barely pregnant. I mean, barely, but still, I was like, oh my goodness. So it wasn't very planned, but we're very happy about it.
So awesome. Lane, what about for you? What's it been like becoming a new dad?
It's the best thing ever, honestly, just having a little mini me running around. Everyone says she looks exactly like me, so that's always the best thing ever. But yeah, it's seriously the best. It's always been a dream of mine as well.
So awesome. I've seen a picture of her. Her name's Jersey, right?
Yeah.
She's darling, and I think she looks like both of you, if I'm being honest.
Good. I love that.
Okay, so I want to know, tell me the story about how you guys met, because I know it was before BYU.
Yeah.
So how'd you guys meet?
Do you want me to tell it?
Sure.
Okay. So I love this story because I kind of tricked him. So he went on his mission to Tri-Cities, Washington. I'm from Tri-Cities. I kind of saw him in the temple when we were doing baptisms, and I said, "Oh my gosh, that guy's cute." He was a missionary. We never talked. Fast forward a few years, and I saw him in the training room. He was getting his physical for football. And I was like, that guy looks so familiar. Who is that? Who is that? Finally was like digging around and asking my football friends. They're like, oh, his name's Lane Lunt. So I look him up on Instagram. I go, oh my gosh, he's that missionary. And it blew my mind. So I was like, I'm going to get this guy to talk to me. So I followed him. He followed me back on Instagram. Then I turned to my friend. We were walking home and I turned to my friend Sierra. And I'm like, I'm going to get him to talk to me. So I post on my story, oh, I miss home, and I tag Eltopia, Washington. You don't know where Eltopia, Washington is unless you served there. And sure enough, that like within an hour, he slid up saying, oh my gosh, you're from Eltopia, Washington. I played dumb. And then we talked ever since.
I don't want to say conniving because that makes it sound bad. Like that was smart planning by you. Lane, how did it go from your perspective?
Yeah, I just remember, I do totally remember going in. It was my very first day at BYU to do all the new football players were getting their physicals. And I remember seeing her and she was kind of just standing there. Like we were standing in line just waiting, and she was standing there talking to someone. I just remember seeing her thinking she was the cutest thing ever. And then she followed me later and I was like, you're kidding. And it was just like the best thing. Yeah, it was just went right. And then I saw it, and yeah, sure enough, I was like, when I saw that she was from where I served my mission, it was like, no way, that's the easiest in ever. Little did I know she was planning the whole thing.
So you didn't remember seeing her in the temple that day on your mission, though?
No. Yeah, not at all.
I doubt he saw us. Yeah.
Guys, I dare say that's meant to be. Okay, yeah. Lane, what was it about Ashton that obviously you guys started dating? What was it about her that made you want to seal the deal?
Oh my goodness.
I like this.
Seal the deal. Well, I think we aligned on just where we wanted to go in life, just when it came to spiritual goals, physical goals. family, but really just everything kind of aligned. Like I loved the motherly aspects of her and how she was raised to be an awesome mom, and all those sort of things. It was just everything I was looking for in a wife since I was young. Just she just fit it perfectly.
That's incredible. Ashton, what about for you?
I think you said it perfectly. Everything aligned. We agreed on everything that needed to be agreed on. I won't say we agreed on everything because I don't think any couple does. Um,
Right.
and I knew he'd be a good dad. That was really high up there for me as a good dad. Holds the priesthood. That was really important to me. Um, yeah, he a big thing actually was that we are very opposite. I am very outgoing, like extroverted, I guess is the better word, and he is very quiet. We're total black and white, I would say, and so we complement each other very well.
I love that. That I mean, you figured it out because that could be difficult
Yeah,
having those two opposites, but can also be something amazing. Obviously, you guys figured it out. You're both athletes, so you've got to be competitive. Ashton, I know you are for sure.
yeah.
And then Lane, I know that you got to be when you're playing Division 1 college football. You got to be very competitive.
uh,
So, are you two competitive with each other?
in every little thing that we do.
Every conversation, everything. That's where it kind of gets in the way. We butt heads there
Uh,
because we're so competitive and we always want to be right. And I feel like we have to humble ourselves sometimes.
but yeah,
Yeah.
everything we do. We told the story just recently. I forgot what we're doing. Oh, I think it was for Ashton's Deep Blue that they're doing, about how I had her over one day when we were first dating during COVID, and we were just hanging out in the living room, and I thought it would be fun to get on the Xbox and play against her in Madden. And
You thought wrong.
yeah, I let her pick the best team, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna pick the worst team, and I'm just gonna beat you. It's gonna be funny." And then she ended up doing so good and like beating me, and then it was just like
He got so
it
mad.
was crazy. Yeah, it was just
I was
no
like,
matter what. Board games, don't even get us started. You
Yeah.
cannot mess around board games.
Oh my
Card
goodness.
games, same thing.
like Secret Hitler. So bad.
So you guys just need to be on the same
Yeah,
team. That's what you've come to learn. You
Yes.
can't
exactly.
compete against each other. You got to be on the same team.
Exactly.
Then you're unstoppable, right?
Yes, that's true. That is true.
I love that so much. How did your shared backgrounds in athletics and faith influence your relationship when you were dating?
You go first.
Um, yeah, I think it's kind of cool. We both grew up pretty similarly. We're both from really small, very LDS places, just kind of on opposite ends of the country. One in Washington, and then I was in Arizona. So I think we grew up with a lot of the same church values, the same family values, um, the same like hard work ethic. I mean, we both worked on farms when we were little. Like we just grew up with so many of the same things that way. I think it was, and when we just like I said, when we started dating, it really just clicked so fast. Like it felt so natural, and like it was just something that was just comfortable, I guess, or something that felt familiar.
Yeah,
Mm.
very meant to be. I 100% agree with him. Everything just kind of fell in place. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better.
Let's dig into your small towns a little bit because I love that so much. Ashton, you grew up in Connell, Washington, in a large family. How do you feel like your upbringing influenced your sports career and just life in general?
Yeah, so I grew up on the football field in on the court. My dad was a football coach. He was a track coach and basketball coach, all head coaches. So, and there was 8 kids. So my mom had to send half of us with him sometimes. And so we just were always with my dad, or always outside, or always playing with my siblings. So I felt like the athleticism came very easily to us, or to me and my siblings. And then the hard work on a farm, waking up early to get chores done before going to school. So the hard work came in, and then again, I had so many. I have 3 younger brothers, so I felt like they kind of pushed me around and kind of pushed me to be the best athlete I can and hardworking because I'm competitive. I want to beat my brothers even though they're boys. So I think just the way I was raised, that we'll be a very active family. We're going to be really hard on each other, but it just pushed us to be better. So, yeah.
Mm. And I know you've said this in a lot of interviews before, and people know this, but you always got to say that you're a pig farmer because that is the coolest fact. Like, you can never leave that out of any interview you do. I don't care how many times you said it.
Oh my
All right.
goodness. Yeah,
It's the
my
greatest.
friends actually make fun of me. They're like, yeah, my best friend, her name's, I call her Mott's. But her parents, I walked in one day and they're like, oh, there's the pig farmer Ashton, because they laughed because the most sows we've had at one time was like 3, but they had so many babies each. So we had a lot. So pig farmer, no, we raised pigs, but it was just so funny because people know me. They're like, oh, here's pig farmer Ashton. And I just died.
Thanks for that nickname.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll have more from Ashton and Lane Lunt. This is Royal Legacy.
And now back to Royal Legacy and your host, Lauren McLean.
Welcome back to Royal Legacy. I'm Lauren McLean with Ashton and Lane Lunt, former BYU Javelin national champ and BYU football tight end. Okay, Lane, as you mentioned, you grew up in a tiny town in Arizona with a little over 2,000 people.
Mhm.
Just little itty bitty. You have a brother and a sister. What was it like growing up in? Do you pronounce it Pima?
Pima.
What was it like growing up in Pima, Arizona?
I absolutely loved it. I mean, I felt like I had the best childhood ever. I really didn't know any different. Like, we didn't really travel a lot as a kid, so I never really experienced much out there. Like, I honestly didn't realize that my lifestyle was so different from others until I went on my mission, and I like had companions who had graduating classes of 2,000 people, and my graduating class had like 70. So it was just like, it was such a weird, and just talking about like childhood experiences and stuff. Some of them like just were like confused about how we, just so many different things, just differently, that we didn't have a mall, we don't have Costco, we don't have, there's just so much stuff that our lives were just way different than most people that grew up in at least some sort of city like here. But no, the same thing. I mean, you just learn a ton of work ethic and responsibility, and from the farm to whatever it was. My dad's a workaholic, so I learned a ton of work ethic from him. Just very different lifestyles, though, and I think, like I said, it's when I'm on my mission when I really kind of learned that I grew up differently than most people do.
Going from a tiny, tiny town with 70 in your graduating class to being a Division I athlete at BYU is pretty incredible. And I know you had a few steps along the way to get there. But what was your kind of sports history growing up in such a small town? How did you get into sports?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just from little league, as soon as I could get into the earliest soccer, t-ball, or whatever, I was doing that. And then as soon as I got into, I mean, I don't know, I've grown up just the biggest sports fan ever. So I always want to play every sport. And I feel like there isn't a sport that I haven't at least tried. I mean, anything that you can in a small town, we have less options, right? But it's just always been, it's just who I am. What I love is to just be active. I love competition, team sports. You name it. It's always been a giant focus of my life.
Ashton, you've mentioned before how your dad predicted that you were going to be a javelin thrower at BYU from a young age.
Mhm.
How do you feel like your dad's influence shaped your athletic journey?
Yeah, he definitely influenced it a lot. I feel like at least in my family, if we set our minds to something, we're gonna do it. And my dad, he kind of just said I was gonna do this, and that was our goal, and we're just gonna reach it. We're gonna do whatever it takes. So he definitely pushed me a lot. We would wake up at like 5:30 in the morning to make sure to get to weights at my high school. He would drive me every single morning, and then me and him would. I don't think a lot of people had the relationship I had with my dad, who gets to be coached by their dad. I don't think everyone could handle that. It's really hard because he was very hard on me. but not everyone got to get the relationship with their dad of driving 30 minutes to school and 30 minutes back. Again, yes, we
Mm.
live like 30 minutes from my school, but um we got to talk a ton on those road trips. I'm going to call it a road trip because it's 30 minutes. But yeah, we talk every day, and he would just kind of like say, "You got this. You can do it." And he would just hype me up, I guess. So he definitely shaped how my life kind of turned out, I would say.
Mm, that's so incredible. Yeah, I don't know if I could do that with my dad, but you're so tough. Like, and I know you probably have your vulnerabilities. I'm sure you do. Everybody does. But I think you can just see that in you. You're tough
Thank you.
and you're prepared for life. I love it. And your little brother committed to throw javelin at BYU, right?
Yeah. Yep. Two of them.
Recently.
Two
What
of
were your
them.
two of them?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So what were you feeling when they committed to BYU, the place where you succeeded so much in your own athletic career?
I was super proud of them. So I have one brother here right now. He's on the track team right now. He just got back from Guatemala. I love seeing how I just love seeing how he gets to do what I did and kind of guide him. I didn't really have someone to guide me through the first semester of college, and it's super hard. So I love seeing that. And then I was so proud of my youngest little brother. Um, he would text me all the time. He was having a pretty hard senior year, and I kind of just told him, "Hey, it's all in God's works. Like if God wants you at BYU, then you're going to come to BYU. If you don't, then that's just what God wants. Just leave it up to him." I kept telling him that. And it's so sad because he is just like me. I would say my little brother Kellen is just like me with work ethic. He would wake up every morning, go work out early. He would practice javelin 24/7, like work so hard. And for some reason, the meets weren't going well. Like he wasn't throwing well. And then all of a sudden, I got to go to a state meet, and I was kind of coaching him, and I was warming him up, and it was just so fun. He's my baby brother. Like out of eight, he's our baby. Um, and he threw so well that day, and he like cried, and it made me like tear up because I knew what he was fighting for. He worked so hard, and I worked. I know what it felt like because I worked just as hard as him, and so seeing it pay off, and then he gets to live out his dream, like I got to live out my dream at BYU, it means a lot. And I'm so happy he's coming to BYU too.
How important is that for you to be able to share your experiences with your younger siblings and be able to help them out? And I'm because I'm sure it's very impactful for them, but what does it mean to you to be able to use all that knowledge that you've gained before them and to be able to pass it on?
Yeah, I kept telling Carson, he's the brother here now on the track team. I'm like, you don't know how good you have it. And and he definitely does. It means a lot that I can just be their mom here, I guess. Even my mom says, like, you're their mom. My brother comes home or over to our house every Sunday, usually more than that, plays with my niece, and I do his laundry. I will say I do his laundry and I cook Sunday
Oh,
dinner.
man.
But like, and I've guided him getting classes and just helping out at practice sometimes. And I think I think it's benefiting me more having my family here than it's benefiting my brother. I just love to have family here. I just love it.
Mm,
I don't know.
that's
Yeah.
incredible. So cool. Well, it makes sense. You're very close with your
Yes.
family. You had a large family in a small town. For in part, you probably were kind of all each other had
Yes.
in a sense, right?
Yeah.
For a long time.
Because we lived in the middle of nowhere, so we were kind of each other's best friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Lane, you played at Eastern Arizona College and then Butler Community College before BYU. How has your family influenced your athletic career?
Um, they've been awesome. I mean, my parents are my biggest fans in the entire world. Like, my mom's just the most proud person ever. She wouldn't miss a game to save her life. So that was really cool. I mean, you know, I mean, I say I really wasn't even supposed to play college sports. I just kind of got on for my mission and just decided I was going to. So I just Eastern Arizona College. It's in my hometown. It's like 10 minutes down the road, and so I just, I was able to play there, which was just amazing, just because that's where I grew up. And then they shut the football program down, so then I moved to Kansas for a year, and it was just the same thing. It was kind of a long slow grind there. But my family, like I said, just my biggest fans ever. The two biggest fans are definitely my parents there, and that was always something that keeps you going for sure.
No matter where you went, they were right there
Yeah.
with you. So how did you end up at BYU?
Yeah. So, the old offensive lineman coach that we had in 2019, 2020 was Eric Mateos. And when I was in Kansas, he's actually from Kansas, and that's kind of like his recruiting area was kind of the Midwest there. And I just honestly, what I did is, and what a lot of athletes do is they're on Twitter and they're sending out their film to coaches. And so I was DMing coaches and I just sent him my film and he liked it and offered me a preferred walk on spot. And I was just so thrilled. Like, I don't know why, but like I had a few scholarship offers to some smaller schools, like D1 schools, just like FCS schools, some on the East Coast, some
Yeah.
like in the South. Um, but I like for whatever reason, I just felt like I needed to be in Utah and I needed to go to BYU. Like I just all my focus, it's all I could think about was I needed to go to BYU. And it's funny because I never grew up a BYU fan. I never watched BYU sports growing up. Like I knew nothing about BYU, like at all. And but for whatever reason, I seriously felt like that's where I needed to be. So it just everything worked out perfect. And then as soon as he, gave me the spot, I did right there on the spot. I was like, yep, I'm coming to Provo.
Well, Ashton's very grateful
Yes.
that you followed your heart and made it to BYU. This is a little off topic, but I do want to know from you, what are your feelings towards BYU's hot start so far in this football season?
It's amazing. Just it's so thrilled for I mean, a ton of the guys that are on the team still I played with. And so just to see all of them, we still talk to all of them all the time, texting back and forth in group chats and stuff. And just, we're having so much fun. So seeing them dominate, especially too like Kalani, I just have so much love for Kalani. I mean, seeing him succeed
Yeah.
is amazing. It's just awesome. What it's doing for the brand and the church and everything is great.
Yeah.
It really is incredible. You guys got married in 2021. Ashton, you became a national champion in 2022.
Yeah.
Lane, what was that moment like for you? Because Ashton's talked about it a lot, but what was that moment like for you when your wife became a national champion?
It was amazing. And I think the reason it was so good for me is because I got to see so closer than anyone else did how hard she worked in order to do it. A lot of people didn't see that. They just see the national title, but I saw the struggles and trials to get to that point in the first place and blowing out your elbow and having to get, surgery and losing 2 seasons and then coming back. Like I saw the whole entire climb to get up to that point. So, being with her when she was at her lowest of her lows to then the national title was just like, this is the most fulfilling thing ever, I think.
Mm. Ashton, how was Lena's support leading up to one of the greatest moments of your athletic career?
He was great. I feel so bad because we don't get a lot of time, like one-on-one time. So even when we're going on our walks, like we call our walks dates sometimes because that's all the time we get for with each other. And I would be texting my teammate Mike about he'd send me film saying, okay, we got to do this and this and this. And I'd feel bad because it's supposed to be this one-on-one time, but I'm also talking, saying like watching my own film. And I'd feel so bad, but he was super patient. Yeah, he was super patient with me. He knew the year that, so I was gonna win. I was gonna win. I was supposed to win. I won. I was super nervous to go into regionals because that's the year before that. Regionals, it doesn't matter what place you're coming in. If you do not score the top 12, then you don't get to go to nationals and you only get 3 throws. And I just remember Lane giving me a priesthood blessing before I left, and that was so comforting and I loved it. And then he actually gave me a priesthood blessing in my hotel room right before I went out to compete for the national title. And like I said at the beginning of this podcast, what I really loved about Lane is that he held the priesthood power and he's able to give me blessings and my children blessings. So in that moment, I was like, this is one of the reasons I married him. And he was willing and able to give me a priesthood blessing when I needed it the most in my life right then.
That's so incredible. I love that so much. And you just mentioned how hard it was to find time together. So I want to know, how did you balance your relationship with the high demands of each of your sports, especially with different seasons and schedules? How were you guys able to balance all that?
That was funny. We always joke because football season runs from like really August until, end of December. And then as soon as we get into January, that's really when she starts. And it goes from then until nationals is like June or July.
Yeah.
So it's like one of us is in season 11 months out of the year.
Yeah. Try and plan a wedding with that.
So that's
No
what we did.
thanks.
The only month that neither of us were in season was July. So that's when we got married, was in July. I mean, it was really the
Yeah.
only time that we had. But like, I mean, we still, every second that we could, we found time to spend time together, even if it was just I'm sitting on the couch doing homework and she's sitting on the couch doing homework right next to me,
Yeah.
or every weekend. I mean, we seriously, like, it felt like just as awesome as any other relationship. I mean, it was just, we spent so much time together still, even though it was the craziness of schedules. We
Hmm.
really did have to like focus and dial in though on making sure that we spent quality time together. Um, that wasn't bombarded by someone else's sports or schoolwork or whatever it was
Right.
there. But
Yeah. I always wondered, I was like, would it be harder to have the same season? Because I have some friends that are married to football players and they're volleyball players. And so I'm like, would it be harder to have the same season or opposite seasons? I really don't know, but it was hard. And I also remember some of the wives were complaining that they never got to see their husbands. And I was like looking at them and just laughed. But I will say most of them had kids, and I do feel way like bad for them because I'm like, yeah, that would be hard if you had kids. But some of them that didn't have kids complained, and I'm like, you have no
You're like,
idea,
mm-mm.
none.
But you did it.
But we
You
did
did
it,
it.
yeah.
And now you're like, what do we do with all this time together? Like, what do we talk about? No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
yeah, yeah.
Ashton, when you think back at your just your entire career at BYU, what's one of your biggest takeaways that you'll always remember?
Um, my biggest takeaway. I feel like my biggest takeaway would be just to work hard and oh no, actually, my biggest takeaway is what my mom always told me growing up: work as hard as you can, do as much as you can, and God will fill in the cracks. God will take what you can't, and He knows you did 100% of what you are able to, and He will take the rest. And
Mm.
that's not even coming that I go to a Mormon school. That's just my mom's taught me my whole life. And then I definitely saw that in my career. I worked my butt off and I did as much as I can. And now it's in God's hands. And I know He would take me the rest of the way.
I'm like gonna write that down. Like that is amazing advice. I love that. Lane, what about you? What would be your biggest takeaway from your time at BYU?
Yeah, I would honestly say something kind of similar to that, and that's just that you have so much control over your life and what you can accomplish in your life. Um, like statistically, like there's no way I should have played Division 1 football, like not even close. And so, but like I set my mind to it. I knew it was a clear vision of what I wanted and what it takes to get there. And if you have that and you just consistency, work on it every single day, it's eventually, I don't know, it's just I feel like it's gonna come to fruition, and that for me it did. Maybe I was a little bit of luck on my side as well too, or destiny. Um, but yeah, I definitely think you know us as individuals just have so much control on things that we can accomplish by just hard work.
Yeah.
Mm, I love that. I love that so much. Ashton, you've talked about how your ultimate goal was to be a mom. And now
Yeah.
here you are, right?
Yeah.
How have you been able to balance family and your passions? You're incredibly active, you're doing a lot of things. How have you been able to balance that?
Honestly, it is a grind. I will say it is a grind. I I try and take every minute of my day and go, go, go. I wake up at 5 o'clock every morning and I go get an hour and a half workout in. And then I come home and Lane has to go to work. So I have the baby. I actually work a full-time job right now and I love it. I work from home, work a full-time job. Luckily it's from home. So Lane has been amazing. And when I had my baby, I went home every single month for the first 7 months of her life. And again, I got to work from home. So I got to work and travel and just all the family time. I get to go help coach javelin sometimes. Some days I
Wow.
get to go help coach Jav. And then I run home, hopefully clean the house. And then Link comes home and he gets to see the baby. But I love it. I love to go, go, go. I hate sitting. Lane sometimes is like, hey, let's have a chill weekend this weekend. I do feel bad because my brothers are over all the time. And I'm like, oh, family. But I love it. I love to just go. I think I'm definitely my mother's child in that where I just don't want to sit and I want to fill every second of my day. And that's why I work out at 5 a.m. is because I don't want to waste time working out where I have daylight, So, yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. You just keep that baby on your hip. You can go anywhere you
I
want.
really do. I do private coaching and she's on my hip.
I love that. I love it so much. And Lane, I want to ask you, when I feel like a father-daughter relationship is such an important thing. When you look at your beautiful wife and picture your daughter growing up, what are some of the aspects that Ashton has that you really hope that your daughter can learn from her?
Just all of them. Like if she just grew up to be a replica, that would just be perfect. I mean, yeah, it's awesome. It's funny. Like I was rooting for a boy, hoping to have a boy. I wanted to have a son just to, whatever. It was just what I wanted. And then I found out it was going to be a girl, still just as happy. I mean, I wanted a healthy baby more than anything, but honestly, having a girl has been amazing. I literally, I wouldn't trade her for the world.
Yeah.
I absolutely love having a girl. And I think I all the time am thinking about her growing up and getting to high school, doing sports, like whatever.
Dating boys. He
Yeah.
doesn't like to think about that.
Yeah, but whatever it is.
You got a minute.
And every single time I know that Ashton's going to rub off on her 100%. She's going to have, to have just the great work ethic, a strong mind, I think is going to be, incredible for her. And I hope that and I know that she'll develop that from her mom as well too. But just high standards in every aspect of life, whether that's sports or dating or church, whatever it is, high standards. I mean, Ashton has some of the highest standards in every aspect of her life. And that's one thing that I definitely hope that my daughter gets from her as well.
I'm here with Ashton and Lane Lunt, former national champion javelin thrower and BYU football tight end. You guys are incredible. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I know you don't have a lot, so you guys are amazing. And thank you again for coming on with me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much
Thank you for having us. Loved it.
That does it for us today. Thanks again to Ashton and Lane Lunt for coming on the show with me. Carter Bond and Tori Kimball helped produce this episode with senior producer Terry South. You can join the Royal Legacy wherever you get your podcasts on Apple, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or on BYURadio.org. Royal Legacy is a production of BYU Radio.